I say it's Feel Good Friday, and it truly is. Whenever Larry Weiss is in the room, then you know you're going to have a good time. He's with Elder Advisors. He is the CEO of Elder Advisors. And what it's all about is, you know, one of my biggest fears is going broke in a nursing home. You hear horror stories, and sadly they are true. But there is an answer, and it is Elder Advisors. So many different issues and challenges. Larry, a little overview before we introduce our audience to the man on your right.
Thank you, John. Hello, Kentuckiana. A couple of things. I'm not just in the room, because actually my ego took a little bruising there. Baby, I'm in the house.
Okay, in the house.
I'm in the house. Okay, and honestly, I'm not trying to critique you, but your intro on the Feel Good Friday, it felt like you just weren't into it.
Really? I wasn't energetic enough?
No. Camera, 3. Kentuckiana, it's Feel Good Friday, baby. Feel Good Friday. A little more energy.
Okay. A little more umph?
Umph. That was too much. Bring it back. TV says bring it back down. Okay.
Nothing like a little coaching from Larry Weiss. It's okay. But the challenges and the fear of, and I've talked about other fears. You know, everybody knows about public speaking or snakes or whatever. But I mean, that's a real fear. Yeah. As far as going broke in a nursing home. You've heard horror stories.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing our workshops next week. We do those monthly. We're glad to always have Steve Langdon back as a guest speaker, definitely dealing with the legal component. But what Elder Advisors does in a nutshell is we help families transition their loved ones from their homes to home health care, assisted living, or to long-term care using financial and legal strategies to protect those assets so they don't go broke in a nursing home. And, you know, I'm good, but I'm not that good. And, you know, constantly when I'm at this show, the refrain is, I want to be the dumbest person in the room, but I always, or in my case, the house. But in any event, I want to surround myself with top talent, whether those are accountants, appraisers, home remodelers, or certainly attorneys, because you would be surprised how often I'm being polite when I get incorrect information families are given by attorneys. And we just had a 4th today. Our E-Town connection was, you know, typically I've got family, because for husbands and wives, that's why we're doing the workshop, because it's never too late. For husbands and wives, John, we can protect for husband and wife, we can protect all the assets.
That's correct.
Right? You were a little long on that. Bring it in a little quicker.
No, I'll try.
Bring in the tight camera 3 for Steve. Okay. So for husband and wife, we can protect all the assets. For singles, about half. It's never too late. It's just the sooner they get to us, the more we can do to protect those assets. That's why we're doing the workshops next week, Monday night at the 4 Points by Sheraton on Crittenden Drive, and of course Monday morning at the Hampton Inn in Indiana. But back to what people are just being told such wrong information, and I'll just focus with what I'm calling my E-Town connection this morning. They came up, husband is at the nursing home, wife and the daughter and the son-in-law are there, and she showed me a power of attorney, and it is weak. I mean, you got a paragraph here, that's about half of what the attorney's power of attorney was on one page. And even the wife said, well, when we took it to the bank, they said it was more than 3 years old. They couldn't honor the power of attorney. But this same attorney that drafted the power of attorney, she said, well, I'm really kind of surprised we're here, because when we went to our local elder law attorney in E-Town, she said, I'm ready for Medicaid. So in 30 seconds, I'm going through the financials, and I'm like, okay, do you have this, that? What about savings bonds? Oh, yes, we have savings bonds. I'm like, whose names are? Well, my name's on the top of the bond, but my husband's is down here. And I said, well, that's a jointly held savings bond. So if they've got $30,000 in bonds, half is an asset for the husband. That's $15,000. So what's the maximum resource the husband can have and qualify for Medicaid, Mr. Langdon?
Approximately $2,000.
Approximately $2,000. So he's now deemed over-resourced by at least $13,000 on the bonds. Mm-hmm. That was the same attorney that said, oh, you're ready for Medicaid. And the problems people have is they stumble into this, they go to the nursing home on that information, then they file for the Medicaid application, and then it usually takes 3-4 months for the application or acknowledgement to come back, and in this case, they would have been denied. And we're finding the nursing home bills are easily $7,000 a month. That's a $28,000 mistake. And then they have to start from there and try to fix it. And that usually takes another couple of months. So there always has to be a legal component, and that's why Steve does such a great job for my clients, because he's also a people person. He's been through this himself, and that's why I'm really delighted he's here to maybe share some of this wisdom with Kentuckiana.
And I'm glad you said that, Larry, because the inspiration for you getting involved in this part of the legal business is you had a personal.
It was very personal.
So tell me a little bit about that, Steve. I think this is interesting.
Right. You know, so out of a really horrible situation for my family came a huge blessing for me. So I had a brother, Tom, who had brain cancer. And long story short, ended up in a nursing home. And I'm the attorney in the family, and I get some questions from my mom and from my brother. What do we do now? I do what most people do. I Googled it. You know, I went down to the nursing homes and asked some questions. I eventually ended up at the Medicaid office asking questions. Everybody told me Tom could have less than $2,000. Now, Tom started working when he was 15 years old at Clarksville Seafood in Clarksville, Indiana. And I thought, you're out of your mind. But that's what everybody told me, and that's what we did. And Tom went completely broke. Tom has 2 little girls. They're grown up now. One's in college. Well, actually, 2 of them are in college now. There's nothing for them from Tom.
So this inspired you to get into elder law?
I did. I found out about 6 months before Tom passed that there were a number of things that could have been done, and it did not sit well with me. And so I dove straight in, and since that time I've done elder law 100%. And you have to. If you're going to use attorney, I'm not the only elder law attorney in town. There are others. But if you're going to go to someone for either pre-planning or crisis planning, the wheels have fallen off, some of your loved ones in the nursing home, you've got to go to an attorney who works in the Medicaid field, and that's all they do. Because if you don't, you end up with the advice that you had from the attorney down in E-Town. Not that that person's a bad person. They're trying to help. They just don't know what the rules are.
Okay. Yeah, we want to talk more in the next segment about pitfalls, power of attorney, but I think it's very evident here that this can be very complex. Like you said, now you've got Steve Langdon here, you've got a real estate attorney, you've got people who are familiar with Medicaid, all of that under your umbrella.
Right.
And I love that because there's areas of expertise. If you're an intelligent man, if it was complex for you know what I'm saying, if it was complex for you.
And dashing and debonair. Baby, you got it all, Steve. You are the total package.
You know, it is Friday.
But that's only when I'm not in the room.
Yes.
Because it's all about here.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Yeah.
But earlier, Steve is being a little kind to his colleagues in the legal community because Steve is a former prosecutor in Clark County. So, you know, obviously he's a little reserved in that, but I'm not. I'll be his cheerleader because he's a former prosecutor in Clark County for about 5 years. He's a trial attorney in both federal and state court in both Indiana and Kentucky. And folks, that's who you need to be in your corner. Most attorneys push paper. They don't know where the courthouse is because that's a whole different matrix if you're going to go to that level of trying to protect clients' assets. Is that a fair statement?
So if you're protecting...
I mean, well, what I'm saying is, if all you do is in your office trying to navigate the pitfalls of trying to protect your clients,
so,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and so I've come at it from a different angle. I've come at it as a trial attorney for a number of years, and there is a component to that when you're dealing with the government. Because sometimes, believe it or not, sometimes they make mistakes. And if you don't have the experience of being in trial and being able to make those arguments, you may not be able to hold the state accountable. I heard an elder law attorney one time say, I've never had an appeal. Well, if you've never had an appeal, you're not holding the state accountable.
Right. Or be willing to take the state to task. So they take the path of least resistance, you know, with such sage advice as, well, just buy a bigger house.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Smith, 75 years old, is already struggling to clean his 2 toilets in his 2-bath house. He doesn't need a 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom home. So, but the attorney doesn't have to leave his office for that. Just buy the bigger house. If you're going to use what Steve calls the special exceptions, you have to be, dare I say, willing to go to bat for the client.
You do. You do. And especially, we were talking about power of attorneys earlier. Boy, I tell you, there are a number of banks and there are a number of insurance companies who don't want to honor a power of attorney because they want to hold on to that client's money. And I've had a number of times where I've had to go down to the branch and had a very serious conversation with that bank manager.
We just met with a family a couple of weeks ago, and Steve did his very involved estate planning power of attorney. The good news is the local bank, it's our least favorite, our local bank accepted the wives, but they didn't accept the husbands. So, yeah, so he's coming in Monday at 2:30 for me to look at, to maybe go to the bank with him. But, I mean, so, yeah, welcome to our world, Kentucky. And people don't fully understand that they're sitting on these documents. They may not actually do what they were hoping it would accomplish. And that's the benefit of coming to the workshop. Steve is going to be there, and then we usually have a scheduled day for people to come in and bring those legal documents, because you will do what at the scheduled day?
I'll take a look at them, and the best thing about it is for these folks, it doesn't cost them a dime.
Right.
All right, don't go broke in a nursing home. Coming up in the next segment, as you can see, we've got a lot of expertise here, and we also have the compassion as well. That's the combination that you need. Coming up, we're going to talk about more pitfalls, a little bit more about power of attorney. Larry Weiss is here. Steve Langdon is here. We'll be back on the Feel Good Friday edition. Elder advisors don't go broke in a nursing home. When we talk about protecting assets, that's more money in your pocket. And believe me, they've got a lot of people out there grabbing for it. You know who we're talking about. Or maybe you don't. If you don't, elder advisors. Okay, we were talking about power of attorney
Yeah.
and pitfalls. So I'm going to let you take the lead here, Larry. I guess what's the most common scenario? Give me something to where people know, hey, you know, I thought I knew this, but then you step in and you go, uh-oh.
Well, the interesting thing is, and we are, Elder Advisors is really enjoying a lot of success from the buzz that you and the Way 3 community generates for us. Monday, Steve and Attorney Keith Mall of Mall Title Services are going to be on as guests Monday to talk about how we save the family farm. Because everybody's told you can't keep the house, you can't keep the farm, you got to sell. Well, we were able to keep the farm, and that was a direct referral from Wave 3. And we're meeting a gentleman, Steve and I are meeting a gentleman today at 2:30. We'll say his name is Mo. And Mo loves us. What's interesting there is Mo is operating under a power of attorney, but also everyone's telling him he needs a guardianship. So he's completely flummoxed as to what's going on, and Steve is actually meeting with the gentleman. But oftentimes, if the power of attorney is set up, then they wouldn't need a guardianship.
More often than not, that's correct.
But if they don't have the power of attorney,
Then we got to go the guardianship route. That involves courts and attorneys and, you know, fees.
I think there's probably many, many more pitfalls from the legal end from your side, Steve. So tell me maybe a common scenario, perhaps a story where you had a challenge.
Let me tell you about a call. I just got this yesterday afternoon. Called the gentleman back before I left the office. Says, well, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law. Mother-in-law's in the nursing home. About 3 years. You know, father-in-law's gone through about $350,000. He's got about $50,000 left, and the nursing home's telling him he has to spend another $20,000 before he can get benefits. That couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah.
It almost makes me sick because we could have saved all that money.
all of it.
Every bit of it. There was no reason for him to have lost any of it.
I see you, Larry, going like that story. That's a shame, isn't it? Because
It's painful.
Yeah.
Painful. Because as I said earlier, there are special exceptions for husband and wife. If one spouse goes in a nursing home, we have the ability to allow the at-home spouse to keep everything because there's no transfer penalty between the spouses at all. But they have to get to us for us to be able to tell them that. Obviously, they never got anywhere.
No.
Because they get an auto bill from the nursing home. Here's the, they bill ahead. Here's the 30 days for March, $7,000. Mom writes a check, and here we are 3 years later.
Well, and if anybody should know, right? I mean, look, I fell for it. If anybody should know, it should be the nursing home.
Agreed.
But they don't. I mean,
No.
you know, what's that commercial he talks about, staying in your lane, right? Nursing homes aren't really as
Stay in their lane.
Stay in your lane. They're not really as interested in how can we preserve these assets.
Right.
They need to get paid to keep the patient cared for. Well, we can get them paid.
Right.
And also save the assets. That's just not what they do. But that's exactly what I do, and that's where you come in as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these workshops. Now, they're called workshops, but I'm telling you, it's going to be a show because Larry Weiss is there.
There's a little bit of entertainment.
Yeah, and I like that. And because, you know what? Because some of this is, it's serious, but it's nice to have someone who can keep your attention. And I mean that, Larry. So,
Thank you.
what's the run of show? What exactly will transpire? Will there be a Q&A?
There's always a Q&A. 4 Points by Sheraton Monday night at 6 o'clock. For the Indiana folks, 10 a.m. at the Hampton Inn. There's Denise Manicky, my business partner. She has an awful lot of talent. She brings a tremendous skill set to Elder Advisors, former 10-year Medicaid supervisor with the state of Kentucky. And, I say this every time my beautiful image comes up, John, but he's a drop-dead gorgeous man. I don't mind saying it. Drop-dead gorgeous, that Larry Weiss guy. But he'll be there, too. That was the entertainment part. And, of course, we'll have the esteemed Steve Langdon, McNeely-Stephenson law firm, bringing up the legal part as well. But you do look a little dapper there.
Yeah,
a little dapper.
very professional.
Very professional,
Yeah.
Distinguished, Esquire.
That looked like, yeah.
Yes, but it's never too late. That's what we're trying to convey to the community. It's never too late to protect those assets. It's just the sooner you get to us, as Steve is alluding to, the more money we can protect.
Yeah, I think some people are thinking, okay, this is going to cost me so much money, I won't be able to save. Not true. The amount that goes in your pocket is minuscule compared to what you can save them.
If any goes into our pocket, oftentimes there's such basic strategies that we can do and say, if you simply do X or Y or Z, there, now you are ready for Medicaid. But until you move X and Y, you're not. So sometimes there's no cost to do it. But you need to take that first step and get out of the zone of just writing a check every month to the nursing home.
What is the reluctance of you talked about nursing homes just don't have the knowledge and they stay in their lanes with Medicaid and government? Is it the red tape? Is it the the litigation, the law side of it? What is it?
You know what? It's those folks, those caseworkers have a hard job. They have 500 to 1,000 cases. The training they receive isn't probably the best. And frankly, it's just a complicated subject. And so they do the best they can. But when you're overwhelmed and a family comes in and it's a close call, what's always the easiest answer?
No.
No.
Yeah.
They'll never get in
Sadly.
trouble for saying no.
Right.
I can tell that really bothers you. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see that side of you, but when you hear about people who could have saved the farm, as you say, protected their assets, and it's too late when you step in. So be proactive. I encourage you to attend these workshops. Larry, we're going to put up the information one more time. And if folks want to reserve a spot,
they can visit the website, elderadvisors.com, or they can call 855-LARRY55, little ego there, 855-LARRY55. And of course, we have the workshops Monday night at 4 Points by Sheraton at 6 o'clock, Indiana, Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. on Broadway Street in Clarksville off Veterans Parkway.
And it doesn't matter if you're from Kentucky or Indiana. Come to either one of them. The material's going to be very, very similar for both.
All right. Once again, don't go broke in a nursing home. Elder Advisors will be right back. Welcome to the weekend on Wave 3 Listens Live. We're going to put up the workshop information, but I think we should encourage it's never too late.
It's never too late, and honestly, the hardest part about a long journey is take the first step. Get out of your mode of either depression or just stress about this. Let Elder Advisors take that weight off your shoulders. It begins with coming to our workshops Monday night, 4 Points by Sheraton on Crenton Drive. Tuesday morning at the Hampton Inn. We can protect assets. It's never too late.
All right. Once again, Elder Advisors. Have a great weekend, and then we'll see you right here on Monday for Wave 3 Listens Live.